Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. We're on the second half of the week. Congratulations. Silver, hello. Angel, hello. How's everybody doing? Hopefully everyone had a good day for the rest of your day yesterday. Hello, hello, hello. I almost feel like I need to start later because people don't show up when I go at normal time. It's all good. It's all good. How's everybody doing today? You put an offer on a house yesterday? Hell yeah. Congratulations. I hope it works out. And yes, waiting does suck. Few of us get to chill and chat. That's true. What's up, DG? Morning from She-Town? Oh, sir. How are things in Chicago? How about those 4 Republicans? I mean, one of them's not a surprise. Massey is going to make Mike Johnson and the president's life a living hell. Even the other 3, based on what states they're in, it's sort of not a surprise. Because it's Ohio, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Because the fact is they know it's not going to get passed by the president. The only way that in the end that something like this is going to go all the way through is if we get a veto-proof majority. That's the hard part, is you need a veto-proof majority. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad they did it. I am glad they did it. I mean, maybe I'm reading it wrong, and it's actually the start of something. You never know. Never know. It'd be nice, right? It would be nice if it was the start of something. Maybe it would be nice if they're actually waking up. I hate to be so pessimistic about it, but morning, Swift. Hoping I can stay longer. I hope you can stay longer too. Hey, Clara. Good morning. Hard not to be pessimistic. Especially when you hear that, like, behind, like, off camera, they can't stand Trump, they can't stand this administration, they can't stand what they're doing. And yet, when it comes to their vote, they still all do it. And it's like, how is that helpful to the American people? That's the part that's frustrating, you know? But what's new? Right? What's new? Supposedly Israel and Lebanon have another ceasefire that Hezbollah is not a part of, which I don't know in the end what that means, but it doesn't feel like it's going to do any good. Morning, Laura. I'm doing okay. I've had this like knot in my or tightness in my neck and shoulders for the past few days, which has kind of made just everything a little rough, but it's slowly getting better. Morning, Linda. Oh. Yeah. It probably once every couple months I get something like that. This one is more annoying because it goes up the neck. Sometimes I just get one that, or it goes up the neck in a way that's giving me a headache, where sometimes it's like I get it in the shoulder, but it's right here and I like can't turn my head. Those ones hurt, but the headache ones are just so much worse because headaches just suck. But it's all good. It's all good. Well, I'm sure the stress of everyday life is not helping things. Cleaning your deck today? Heck yeah. Stress does wreck the body, unfortunately. I get migraines from an old neck spinal injury where two vertebrae had such impact on them that they fused together. Oof. That sucked. That may be straight up the worst. I know quite a few people with spinal fusion stuff, and it never fully goes away. Linda! Thank you, Linda. Thank you for the $20. I appreciate you. They played for like a quarter second. That was weird. Crazy thing is, when the doctor discovered this in an MRI, he said, whatever did it should have had me bedridden for a month. I don't even recall when it happened and was never bedridden. Oh, see, and that's the thing. Like, to some extent, especially in my back, I'm in constant pain, just always. And it's been like that for so long that I don't like, I don't even notice that anymore. And sometimes I wonder what's going on back there that could be wrong that I've just learned to ignore. Most likely an old injury from when we used to break horses. Oh, that makes sense. There was a period where I was getting like 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night. That's the one thing that has changed, and I'm not sure what changed it per se. But while there's a few times here and there where I'm not getting, like, I'm getting that little sleep, in general, I'm getting 7-ish hours, which is just wild to me because I can't remember the last time I was getting that much sleep. Now, it's not consistent because of neck and back and all these other things, but I'm getting it way more than I used to. I swear this week has been in dog years so damn long and it's not over yet. I'm exhausted. Laura, I feel that so much. What's up, meme? How you doing, buddy? I'm up and down all night, which is why I go to sleep so early. So I'm in bed for 10 hours, but wake at least 8 times a night. Ugh, yeah, that sucks. That sucks. Sleep deprived like everyone else. Thank goodness for coffee in large mugs. Amen to that. Blink. What's up, Philip? Hey, cat. I sleep the best when it's cooler. Same. That's probably why. That Nate guy here in Texas. Which Nate guy? Political SOS. I have not. I've never even heard of them. Is that Oh, yeah. Sorry. I looked into him a little bit. I mean, you know, I'm looking at his Facebook comments and stuff. Obsessed with socialism, things like that. Going into the 90s for a few days, not looking forward to it. Yeah. I think we're going to be in the mid to upper 80s today. Yeah, mid 80s. Looks like this weekend we're going to be in, and then low 80s, and then upper 80s, 90s. Yeah. We're full in over here. But yeah, Nate shots line. I feel for you. Let's put it that way. It's gonna suck. Obsessed with Charlie Kirk. You know, the usual. My favorite job was I used to work in the freezer when I worked at Publix. Obviously, not enough coffee. My typing is suspect. I wish my problem with typing had to do with the amount of coffee. Heading to Atlanta tomorrow? Hell yeah. But yeah, this guy is a straight up, unfortunately, straight up MAGA. I I was just looking at his X account and it was kind of disgusting. Obsessed with Sharia law, obsessed with everything. Making ivermectin. Saw a post where they're like, we just made it so ivermectin was available over the counter. Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it, Philip. I don't get how they can like how anyone who is in one of those positions can be that obsessed with these kind of things all the time. Like you would think that there were enough other things involved in running an entire state, especially one as big as Texas, that those kind of things would not be the most important things. Obviously, I'm wrong, but you would think. I believe he used to be a pastor and only ran because the IRS said that churches can get involved in politics. Of course. Of course he did. uh, making a smidgen of progress at Delaney Hall. They released a teen girl and a pregnant woman. Good. Yeah, I saw a video of a New Jersey House representative be like, I walked through and it was great in there. It's like, yeah, yeah. I'm sure they're hunger striking because of how great it is in there. I'm sure. Because that makes total sense. It looks like Texas is going through another potential scare. A screwworm, a flesh-eating bacteria was found in a calf in Texas. What's up, Scott? Gee, what a shock. California is taking forever again to count votes. Florida gets complete results in 4 hours. California takes days, right, Scott? Yeah. Why does their counting take so much longer? Is it because they don't start counting until like everything is done? New day, new plague. Yeah, right. But you know, Tylenol, guys. It's all about that Tylenol. Gotcha. Allow time for mail-in ballots to come in. I guess that makes sense. Did they stop eating the dogs and cats? You know, it probably depends on who you're talking to. Could end this and just vote online. Wouldn't that be nice? Hey, April. They're using fingers and toes. Yep, yep, yep. That's it. Figured it out. Thank goodness they got rid of the real scientists and medical professionals, right? Y'all see Trump with his poster of the reflection pool versus skyscraper. I don't know. I don't know either. They're just using outdated tech. Gotcha. I gotcha. Well, I mean, arguably, I sort of can get it. Can you imagine how much money it takes to update everything in California? Alaska's giving me a giggle with their race. Oh, yeah? This Dr. Oz thing about 6 million people being on the ACA fraudulently because they never filed a claim. There should be a lot of people. That's a good thing. What? He obviously doesn't understand how medical insurance works. I'm an idiot. They're all idiots. I'm no fan of Florida, but after Bush v. Gore, they have the best election counting in the country. Yep. And again, I think that's one of those things where it shouldn't be left just to the states. Like I don't think a state's how a state does elections, like in terms of like counting. Like we should like this, I don't know. Hey Siberia. How are you doing? Alaska has a Dan Sullivan running against a Dan Sullivan. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to the weekend. I need a good reset, but other than that, I'm good. Comparing the reflecting pond to the Eiffel Tower. Everything to everybody right now is a fraud. More on the right, but I think even we on the left are starting to see fraud everywhere too. And it's making life exhausting. Regardless of which fraud is right or wrong, it's exhausting having everything be fraudulent. It doesn't matter. Like anything that is bad just means it's fraud. It has nothing, there's no way that it's just the way it's set up. Like it's not that it's broken, it's fraud. Morning, OC. How are you doing? My son was signed up for ACA fraudulently and already had Medicaid. That is messing up him filing his taxes, but it's not large scale fraud like Oz talks about. Really? That's crazy, April. Discussing that the people who know the difference lie to the people that want. I mean, what's disgusting is that no one, there's so much distrust in everything that everything now seems fraudulent. Like there's so much distrust that even the good stuff, even when something good happens, people can't see it. And that's true on both sides. I don't personally believe that this administration has done anything actually good. But let's be honest. There's so much distrust that even if they did, I wouldn't be able to, I probably wouldn't believe it or wouldn't like it even. Top of the morning to you. Hey, Kelly. How are you doing, my friend? I'm sad that Paxton divorce trial was called off. I was looking forward to protesting peacefully and patriotically. We tried to warn people before that. I know we did. I know. Finally back to your normal operations and sleep schedule? Hell yeah. Of course. At least I try. How's the family? Family's good. Family's good. You know, it's stressful right now, but family is good. Looking forward to, they're looking forward to going and visiting family in a couple weeks. It's probably safer asleep. It's possible. Yeah, did you see that whole thing with them calling Marco Rubio a liar, saying that he's never seen Trump be asleep during one of their cabinet meetings? Like that's what we're to now, guys. Do you get that? That is what we are to now. That is become the epitome of where we are. We are having Senate hearings, and in it we are having arguments about whether or not the president was sleeping during a cabinet meeting. This timeline sucks, right? They would say it was fake news somehow, or do the whole he wasn't sleeping, he was just resting his eyes, or something stupid like that. Darn sure wasn't blinking, or they need some eye moisturizer. What does what mean? The voting through the war powers resolution? Well, I mean, basically, there's been a war powers resolution that they've tried to pass multiple times. It's actually gotten voted through in the Senate before. It's never gotten voted through in the House. If it passed, which it would require the president to sign, so it's not going to pass, but if it were passed, it would limit or end the president's ability to wage war without Congress approving it. Basically limit and what he is doing over there without Congress's approval. Unfortunately, the chances of it making through the president signing, like the only way something like that is going to pass is if they had a veto proof majority to sign, like to sign off on it. And that is unlikely. But it does show not only the people, but also the GOP and the president that more and more people are starting to get tired of this shit. Of course he's angry at them about it. He's angry at everyone about everything. The man is the whiniest, petulant child I have ever seen. People can't... Wait.
I can't do whatever I want. People tell me no. I got money. Money means I should be able to do whatever I want all the time.
That's my impression of how he sounded. So I don't know if the one that they signed was the one that already passed the Senate, so it just goes to the president, or it's a different one that has to go back to the Senate. I haven't checked on that yet. My guess is it's the same one. The latter. Saw Trump signing an executive order yesterday that was so complicated. It makes me want to know who are the people other than him bringing them to him. Okay. I don't think that the 4 GOP congressmen that signed it were ones that were thrown out, but you know. What's up, Ghost? Now he wants to do an EO to freeze and take over bank accounts from undocumented people. Yeah, I know. I know. It's so wild to me. Like, the obsession is just so crazy. Like, it's an obsession that I cannot fathom. The GOP right now are obsessed with people that don't look like them. They're obsessed with people that don't love like them. They're obsessed with people's private parts. They're obsessed with what people believe. It's a complete and utter obsession, and it boggles my mind. EOs are all he has because his ideas aren't going to pass through Congress. Oh yeah, 100%. Which is why we need to change the executive order privilege of presidents. I disagree with executive orders. I don't think presidents should be allowed to lead via executive orders. Any president. Don't care which president we're talking about. Running a country through executive orders does nothing but hurt the people. Yeah, guys, if you're over here on TikTok, please tap that nose. It helps push it out to other people. Appreciate it. Also, sharing it helps. An order, not a law. Yep. Executive orders are not laws. What do you think of the Nowak case? What do I think of it? It's an absolutely horrible and disgusting situation. I didn't remember the name, but I remember hearing about it. Also check your voter status monthly. Yep. So basically, an 18-year-old student, Henry Nowak, was lost his life after a 23-year-old can't use any of these words. This sucks. I would look it up. I would look it up. What do I mean by war power resolution? There's been a war powers resolution which would limit the president's ability to wage to do anything that it's doing over there without approval of Congress. It is a good thing. It's not going to pass, unfortunately, but it is a good thing. No, it is not the worst thing for the U.S. long term. One person should not have the authority to put us into a war. The worst thing is having one person who has that authority. That is the worst thing. No president, I don't care which, again, I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, no one person should have that kind of authority. Ever. No, it is not essential for a nation's survival. That's a dumb statement. Essential for a nation's survival. That one person. Give me a break. Saying it is a dumb statement. See, I can do it too. What makes you think that one person should have the authority to do everything and anything involving war without approval from our legislature? All of human history? I don't think that's the gosh. Obviously you don't know all of human history, but also I know you're American, so your education is a joke, but come on. Ah, yes. Community people can come up if they want. Didn't he say he didn't want war in 2023? Yep. He said he didn't want war a lot.
Good morning.
Morning. Everyone does not want to come here. Definitely not anymore.
I think there's some misinterpretations about what's going on in Congress. Congress is not, this is my understanding of it. It could be wrong, but I did a little bit of research into it. Congress is exercising authority already granted to it under the War Powers Resolution of 1973. Should Congress, both the House and Senate, both agree on the same wording, because that's important, it is not subject, from what I understand, to a presidential veto at all. However, the president can refuse to effectuate Congress's order, and it goes to the courts. And it is true that most presidents, and I do believe all presidents since 1973, as a matter of policy, have assumed that the War Powers Act is unconstitutional. So it would have to my knowledge, it has never been determined by any court whether it is constitutional or not. So we're in uncharted territories. This is a little bit different. Congress isn't passing a law right now that the president can veto. They are exercising authority already given to them. That's my understanding of it. And it was explained because I assumed that this would go nowhere. Trump would veto it. There'd never be 2/3 to override the veto.
Yeah.
This isn't a law. This isn't a new law. They are exercising the 1973 War Powers Resolution. That's my understanding of it, and that was the New York Times analysis by one of their attorneys. I can't say for certain that that's correct, but that does make sense to me. Congress is exercising authority already granted to it. And President Nixon, this is one of the Watergate reforms. President Nixon was still president at the time, but he was a much weakened president as the Watergate scandal was erupting. He vetoed the legislation as an infringement upon the inherent authority of the executive branch, and both houses of Congress overrode his veto. Therefore, it has been the law of the land since then. I don't believe it's ever been effectuated before, and I'm not certain it'll end up being effectuated now. It probably behooves both branches of government to come to some sort of resolution short of sending it to the courts. But it's interesting, nevertheless, because there haven't been too many times that Congress has bucked this president, and they have now.
Well,
and that is instructive in and of itself.
And one of them's not surprising. I don't know about the other three. I didn't look into them, like whether they're running again or not or whatever.
Yeah, Laura, something like that. Yeah. And, the distinction, the normal thing is Congress passes a law and then the president can decide to veto it or sign it into law. This is simply effectuating authority already granted to Congress through a law that is on the books. But there are some real questions, and there's been a lot of dispute since 1973 as to whether this is constitutional or not. And to my knowledge, that has never been litigated. And Di would know more about that than me, but I don't believe it's been litigated.
Philip says all four of them got primaried. It's dangerous to handicap a president. I don't think any president should have the authority to wage a war for the rest of the country. That's not handicapping a president.
I agree with Mike Roll Tide. However, I have to say that a lot of presidents would agree with you. They view the presidents as a general nature don't want their authority circumscribed.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I understand why a president wants to be able to do it. I don't think a president should be able to do it. I don't think it's dangerous. I don't think it's handicapping. I think if there's real danger, I think Congress has the ability. We've seen Congress's ability to work fast when it's necessary.
Dwight, I don't know why you're making a distinction between the Marine Corps and the other services of the United States. The president is commander-in-chief of all of them.
It's viewed more as an undermining of the president, only by the president.
Yeah, Roll Tide, I understand your point, and certainly presidents feel that way, but Congress did not feel that way, and the Constitution gives Congress the sole right to declare war, and the War Powers Resolution, or so it was viewed in 1973, is part and parcel of that. So Congress disagreed, President Nixon vetoed it, and Congress overrode President Nixon's veto in November of 1973.
And again, just because it is viewed as undermining the president doesn't mean it actually is undermining the president. We need to make that clear too. An opinion does not make it fact.
Absolutely. And Congress took into account President Nixon's objections and found them unpersuasive and overruled his veto.
I cannot understand why anyone would be willing to trust one person to make all of those decisions. Any of them, any side. Like, it's not just Trump, it's anybody. I don't want any president, I don't care who it is, to have that kind of power. It doesn't matter how much I trust them.
Yeah, I agree. And the same holds true for the authority to use nuclear weapons. For instance, even in Russia, Vladimir Putin does not have sole launch authority. In the United States, the president does. That scares the hell out of me. And again, this has nothing to do with Trump. This has to do with any individual president having that kind of authority scares the hell out of me.
I think people, a lot of people that come in here that are supporters of this administration misunderstand what we do here. And because you came in now, some of you think that the only thing that we do, like that we are obsessed with being against a specific person. We are against this person not because of who he is, but because of what he has done that we disagree with. We called out Biden just as much. Now, again, you may sit here and go, well, you were just caught, because Trump has never stopped running. Trump has never, ever stopped running and never stopped trying to get himself on TV. BS. I don't care if you believe me or not, Shelby. I literally don't care if you believe me or not.
Now, Shelby, you just used a strong term, and it's not BS. You used the term liar. Could you explain what lies have been told, please? Explain what lies. You called liar without specifying who was a liar. Could you explain just what the lie was? Guess not.
I mean, it's possible they did. This app, literally, I go into people's lives and I say hello or good morning or good evening, and somehow I'm getting filtered out. It's just, and there's no rhyme or reason to it either.
Well, I guess welcome to the world of AI. I do believe that on this app, AI handles all of that. Am I correct, Mike?
Yes. I think they were saying that you were lying about not being on one side. Oh, again, I am a progressive. I just told you I said BS. I know you didn't say that. I'm responding to the statement though, because I think you're right too. Yes, you are progressive. I am. Yeah. Yeah. In the end though, what I care about, what I will always care about is not a party, what you call yourself. The majority of the country is not. The majority of the country is not anything. Again, these are just identities. I can call myself a conservative right now. And literally none of you can actually stop me from calling myself a conservative. That's the part you guys don't seem to get. They're just words. They literally are just words. And none of you seem to understand. You guys are so obsessed with associating yourself with something and thinking that actually means something. It doesn't. I can call myself whatever I want. No, actions matter. What you stand for matters. What you do matters. Words don't matter. Because again, you, me, any of us can say whatever we want. Heck, that's a problem in our elections right now, right? We have people that believe progressive ideals that are running as we have people that have conservative ideals that are running as progressives, and we probably have progressives that are running as conservatives. Because people can say whatever the hell they want. That's the problem. Y'all are so obsessed with a D or a R next to their name or what they call themselves that you don't actually ever listen or care what they say. That is a problem.
No, I usually wait until around noon to get drunk. The hell kind of question is that?
So again, what do I care about? What do I care about? I care that the person that I'm voting for believes that all people, no matter your race, religion, gender, or identity, deserve rights, respect, dignity, and safety. That is my line in the sand. That is my line in the sand. I don't care what name you put next to you. If I believe after looking into you and what you, if that shouldn't be a line in the sand, that's a dumb line in the sand. Everyone believes that. Disagree. Disagree. Actions speak louder than words. Disagree. There are so many people that don't care about certain groups. Goodbye. If you are supporting laws that are actively endangering the lives of women or members of the LGBTQIA community, or actively taking away representation of Black people, then you don't stand for those ideals. You don't. You may disagree. You may not understand how someone can be a part of the LGBTQIA community. You may disagree with someone's right to get an abortion. Those are all understandable. You are, if you are not a member of the community, you're never going to understand what it means to be a part of it. Not fully. If you don't think that people should get ABs, then I understand you not agreeing with it. But if you are willing to support laws that have been shown to endanger the lives of those people, then you don't care about them. And that is a problem. If you want to have a discussion with someone about why they shouldn't get an AB, go for it. But telling someone who they're attracted to and who they love and who they are, come on. You wouldn't like it if I told you who you were. I was thinking about this today. What if somebody came up and just told all straight people that it's actually us that are weird? What do they think decides who we're attracted to? And where can they prove that? Like, people are attracted to who they're attracted to. None of you chose it. None of us chose it. Get over it. You're right. And that's why I won't support someone who does not support laws that protect everyone. Again, you don't have to agree with it. You don't. You have every right to not. But you wouldn't want anyone telling you who you are, who you love, and what you can do with your own body. So why are you okay with them with doing it to other people? That's the part that drives me absolutely insane. Every single one of you is like, you can't tell me what to do with anything. And yet, if even the hint of being told what you need to do comes across your screen, you go absolutely crazy. And I don't mean you specifically, Roll Tide Girl. I haven't seen what you do. I'm just saying people that support this administration, people that support the Republican Party as a whole. Do you have every right to be upset that your job requires you to get the jab if you want to keep working there? Do you have every right to be upset about that and you don't want to get it? Yes, actually, you have every right to. You have every right to. But they have a right to decide who can and can't work there. Those are all, like, again, it's one of those things where what happened to the victimization fund? It looks like it has been taken off the plate, at least as it stands right now. Knowing them, they'll probably try and bring it back.
Trump, his attorney general designate, which I believe he is now the attorney general designate since Trump wants him to take the job full time, had told Congress that it's off the plate. And Mr. Trump, as is his wont, said yesterday that, oh no, I love it. I still think we can get it. So your guess is as good as mine. And it is now 10:44 on the East Coast. By 11:44, there may be a different answer.
Yep.
So I believe it was Senator Tillis wants Congress to pass a law that specifically banning it because he said, I think given the situation, it would be best to drive a stake through it. And I think he's got a point.
Daniel, have you heard of Parkinson's disease? Actually, I rarely drink alcohol, like ever. But have you heard of Parkinson's disease? The degenerative neurological disorder that there is no cure for, that causes your hands to shake and your body to shake. Maybe next time you should, not be an asshole when you come in. Can vouch. I don't think you've ever seen me drink. I rarely do, Garpu. It is not. There have been times where I've definitely felt I've needed it, but in general, I'm like, look, I'd rather get my calories from other things. I don't like it enough to get that kind of a calorie intake.
Yeah, Marie points out in chat, and thank you, Marie, that California wants to test, should they have this fund, California will tax it at a 100% rate. And I understand there are other states considering that as well, which I think would be a very good idea.
This administration can try. It can. This EB. It absolutely can. I mean, to be fair, politics as a whole, again, we say this about this administration. right now, both sides are making me want to for different reasons altogether. One, because they show they don't care about people, and the other because sometimes they don't show they care about certain people, at least not care enough. And it just is wild. Hey, Patty. Yes, I think they did. But again, I mean, this is the thing. We talked about a little bit on the Discord today. Garpu posted something about how Trump, let me look it up just so I make sure I have it. She posted a story where Trump says he may keep the UFC arena on White House lawn permanently. I'm telling you right now, he's not planning on doing that. He's doing it because he knows people will get pissed off about it. And his base will crack up at it. Now,
so crazy.
Now, could I see him actually trying? Absolutely, I could see him actually trying. Do I think he is serious about it? No, I don't. I think his only goal, and again, I've been seeing tons of videos of people being asked about stuff he says and goes, oh, he's just trying to be funny. And I think this is why he says some of the crazy things he does, which is why, as Scott said earlier, it is 10:48 now. In an hour, he'll probably say something different. That's why, in general, we try not to just go by what he says about anything. Because what he says and what he does are very often completely different.
You know, it's interesting that your statement right now, and I agree with it, reminds me of what we talked about in between the election and Inauguration Day and how to keep our sanity. And that was one of the things we brought up repeatedly. This guy tries to dominate every news cycle with nonsensical statements. Mm-hmm. And if you fall down that rabbit hole of listening to everything he says, your mind will be fried before 1 year is out of his presidency. So that's just always a wise policy to follow, especially with this president. Watch what he does, not what he says.
Yep. What's the status of the ballroom? So as it stands right now, the only thing that has been approved for him to do is build the part that is underground. So as far as I know, he is still building the part that is underground. I have not seen anything above ground being built, because nothing that is still in the courts.
You know, I was thinking the other day about that, and I hadn't thought about it until I saw somebody else bring it up. I think it was in chat in here. Wouldn't it be something if the Democrats take one or both houses of Congress, and they're definitely going to take one, maybe both houses of Congress in November, and then stop all funding for it? That would leave the next president moving into the White House with a big hole in the ground. I mean, that's just bizarre.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know that there technically was one there. I think they pulled it out and they're expanding it. They're making a bigger one. But again, all they've been given approval to do is stuff that is underground, not above ground.
Taryn Bit says in chat, what a damn mess. He tore down the entire wing of the People's House. I couldn't agree with you more. What an absolute mess. You know, other presidents have made improvements to the White House, but always with the assistance of architects, historical architects who want to keep the general nature of the building. The Truman balcony is perhaps one of the most famous things. Jackie Kennedy's Rose Garden, which obviously no longer exists. President Nixon added a bowling alley. President Eisenhower added a little putting green for him to futz around on. but nothing like this.
I mean, Vonda, I'm only telling you what I've read / other people are saying is that it was pulled, the original bunker was pulled out with, and that is what they are allowed to do. I don't know. I honestly don't care, other than the fact that we're spending money on it.
And you're still here, Portobello? You know, nobody's forcing you to stay here.
And thank you for the engagement. I appreciate it. It helps push it out to more people. Guys, if you're one of the 115 people here, please tap that nose. It helps push it out. Share it with people. Join the team. And you too. I just swung back and noticed, yep. Yeah, we talk a lot.
You can't just quit us, can you, Portobello? Wow.
Guys, look how big and strong I am. I can come in to a chat and say whatever I want. Can't even say the name right. Congratulations. You called me host. That's not my name either. I'm going to change your name. Your name is now... Because I'm a big alpha man and I can call you whatever the hell I want.
Hey, Carla. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, that he wants to do another EO to freeze and seize bank accounts from undocumented immigrants. Yep.
Does he have the authority to do that? I mean, even by executive order, does he have the authority to do that?
I don't think so.
Not. I would think not.
I think the only way he could have the authority to do it is if he found a way to call all undocumented immigrants the T word, and that would allow him to seize all of those assets.
Yeah, or accuse them of massive fraud, but that would be the DOJ. Yeah, I just don't see him having that authority. No, normally seizing bank accounts, wouldn't that take a court order? I don't know.
Hey, Chris. Oh, we know, Jem. They don't care about that.
Yeah, Gen X, I would tend to think the DOJ would have to go to a court and get an order to do that. But
and again, we're living in crazy times where at least in terms of the initial action, when has the president and this administration ever cared about what is legal or not? Again, when it comes to following it, once the decision is made, when they've gone as far as they can go, they end up doing it in a vast majority of the cases. There's some obviously that they didn't, and it went even worse. But in most cases, they are following the rulings of the court. that doesn't change the fact that they quite often are starting off knowing that they're doing things that'll probably get overturned in the hopes that they can squeeze something through.
Yeah, it's also important to remember that a lot of Mr. Trump's executive orders are really performative in nature. He has no intention of enforcing them or anything else. He simply likes to say them as a political statement.
It's funny, for the last 47 years, people have said that Iran was 2 weeks away from having a nuclear weapon. 47 years. Definitely the last since Bibi got into power. Pretty much every year he would say that that they were 2 weeks away.
Yeah, but it's coming, Mike. It's coming.
No.
Sort of like our Doge checks are coming, and our tariff checks are coming. It's coming.
Okay. They didn't do something stupid like this administration did. Before this administration's first term, they weren't being allowed. Yeah, you're saying a lot of stuff. None of it matters.
Look, every president since 1979, with the Iranian Revolution that brought in Ayatollah Khomeini, and launched a very poor time between the United States and Iran, obviously with the hostage crisis. Every president has been presented with war plans to attack Iran. No president has done so for one very simple reason. They knew that Iran would resort to asymmetrical warfare and seize the Straits of Hormuz and close the Straits of Hormuz. That's why no president has done that. Trump downplayed the threat of the closing of the Straits of Hormuz, which could lead to worldwide economic dislocation, which we're seeing right now. And he went and did it. He's the one who pulled the trigger. And Iran, which was easily predictable to everybody except Donald Trump, went and closed the Straits of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil and 20% of the world's natural gas flow.
I don't even know what the hell you're saying. Deleted. Have you ever noticed that the harder that people try and defend themselves, it makes you realize that they are exactly what they're trying to pretend that they're not? That's what I've noticed. You can tell that this man has been told that he is racist a lot. You're not democratic. Democratic isn't a word. You love everybody? I somehow doubt that. But I don't I've don't interact with you very much, so I can't say. Hey, Hannah. Thank you, Patty. But if we're just talking about what you're talking about deleted, you don't strike me as loving everybody. Hey, Books.
Hey.
Maybe not Middle East.
Crazy world today.
Technically, a country in the Middle East already has one. Multiple countries in the Middle East already have nuclear weapons. Oh, you
Good
know,
morning, Books. How are you?
it's been a wild week. It's been a wild week. It's been a wild month. It's only we're only 4 days into the month, and it's been a wild month. You doing okay? I'm doing okay. Slowly better every day. There are still parts that are hard, and they're going to be hard, that have come in that have come from what happened, but you know, there are things. I love the internet because it allows us to do this, but there are some really bad things about the internet. So yeah, I was like, Pakistan has them. They're right above Iran. So it's already over there. And I think you seem to forget, like, you seem to think that they have no self-preservation desire, which isn't true. They do have a desire for self-preservation. The people who would make that decision do have a desire for self-preservation. Which is why no one has ever fired a nuclear weapon since the first time.
You know, I think that one of the things also that scares me about this administration and the blindness of their followers is this idea of protection. They're so adamant about being a strong bully type, just pure strength for protection. But all of the foundation around that is being completely dismantled. I mean, they just came out with an article about how many diplomats that were missing throughout the world now. And if you think that having thousands of open diplomats positions throughout the entire world is somehow making us more protected, then you're just completely uneducated on how American power has worked for the last several decades.
He didn't take a bite of anything. He didn't do anything. Do you understand that this administration, in its infinite wisdom to quote unquote prevent Iran from ever having a nuclear weapon, has now convinced every country in the world that the smartest thing they could do is get a nuclear weapon? Because that is the only thing that will prevent stupid people from doing stupid things.
The only thing this has done has made us weaker on the world stage. No one, despite the struggles that this shutdown with the Strait has had on the world, no one is coming to our aid. No one is joining Trump in this war that he started.
And Promethean on the other side, every day the internet seems to become less and less redeemable. Look, the internet by its very nature is not good or bad. What's good or bad is how we decide to use it. And when you live in a fully capitalist society, an end game capitalist society, which I believe we are in right now, a unregulated capitalist society, the left do not control the media. The fact that you believe that means you actually have no idea what you're talking about. And you don't, and also I don't believe you know what socialism is if you're making those statements.
Books, I think you make a very good point. We have focused so much on kinetic power that we have forgotten that the real strength of the United States has always been our soft power. And we're seeing terrible results from our irrational defunding of things like USAID, pulling out of the World Health Organization. We now see the results of ending the JCPOA that President Obama had negotiated with Iran, which, while not perfect, was at least achieving its limited goals towards an Iranian nuclear weapon. Diplomatic power, soft power, is many times more important to the United States than kinetic power. Our kinetic power in Iran obviously has not worked. It has backfired in a spectacular way, imperiling the world economy, not just the United States economy. This has been a fiasco that will go down as one of the largest strategic mistakes made by the United States in our entire history.
And again, deleted. What do you think socialism means? When you say both sides are pushing a socialist agenda, what does that mean to you? And I have found that most people don't even know what socialism is, let alone a socialist agenda and why you think it's bad. You want to have that conversation? Sure. We can have that conversation. But right now it just sounds like you're speaking Newsmax or Fox News quotes on here. I don't think it's left versus right, government versus people, rich versus poor. It's again, it's so easy to put a black and white on everything. And yes, we have an issue right now with the rich controlling things, but we've also got a problem where there's a lot of people that seem to lack humanity just at all, and it has nothing to do with rich people. Now, have they been brainwashed into having that opinion? To a great extent, sure. That doesn't change. That's what we have to deal with right now. It didn't change the fact that what we are interacting with right now is a time and place where there are a ton of people that care more about a letter next to your name than the people that actually live in this country. For not even the humanity sides of things. Like, don't care about what's happening to immigrants. I'm talking about American citizens There are people that don't care about American citizens because of what religion they believe in, what color of skin they have, or who they love, or what they want to do with their own body. And they are okay with laws that endanger their lives because of that. And that is a problem. How did we get there? That's a whole different thing. That is, that's not even just rich versus poor. That's a lot. And Promethean, I was just, again, for everyone on here, I take what people say and I talk about it. You know, if I am not allowed, like, don't get angry because I'm talking about what you say. American citizens must believe in patriotism. Disagree. That is not what it means to be an American citizen. There is no requirement for that, especially when the people that are running this country right now don't seem to care about all Americans. Why would you expect someone who is being actively treated like they don't matter? Why would you expect them to be patriotic?
Well, not only that, Mike, that sort of begs the question of who gets to define patriotism, doesn't it?
That's true too. Patriotism is literally the most ignorant thing ever. And you know, and again, that kind of idea is not a United States only problem. That is I mean, you're seeing it in the UK, you're seeing it in Germany, you're seeing it in a lot of countries right now. This idea that we should only be caring about our own people.
Well, and, you know, even if you have that belief, this administration is doing the complete opposite of that belief. I mean, you know, I come from the opinion that protection from the government also means that the people are met with their most basic needs. And when I'm from West Virginia, and we just had a study come out that one of our counties did a study for kids in school, and only 1/3 of the kids in that school system said that they receive more than one meal a day. And we're still and that's not even the poorest county. They were middle grade county. And 2/3 of those kids are not receiving more than one meal a day. And we're still arguing about providing food to children when they're in government care in a school system. I mean, where are we at in this country?
Mm-hmm. I was watching again. I saw another video of Mr. Global, which again, if you don't watch him, watch him. He's really good. They were talking. You know how people come in and they talk about how expensive gas is in California. That's their bread and butter. What people don't understand is in terms of gas, in terms of affordability, West Virginia is actually the least affordable gas in the entire country. Because while their prices are cheaper than California, the average income of people in West Virginia is so much lower that they are less likely to be able to afford gas than the people in California at the higher cost.
Yes, and that's only exacerbated by the fact that the average person in West Virginia has to drive over 30 minutes to get to their job, to get to a hospital, to get to a grocery store. And we do not have public transportation. Think of that. You have to drive 30 minutes just to get to a grocery store. And you do not have Uber. You do not have a public bus. And you're in poverty because the majority of West Virginia is in poverty.
The problem right now is not, you're right. Oil companies are not going to drill more because of how much money they're going to make. But that's not why we're dealing with the problem. We're dealing with the problem because we cut off 20% of our oil exports, and now we're draining our reserves worldwide. And
sorry, go ahead.
I was just say, and again, I don't think you, I just, how much more do you think we can drill? We are drilling, we are exporting, like we are drilling more oil in this country than we've ever done before.
And I would also like to point out, I'm an oil field family. Like, I'm part of an oil field family, generations of people working in the oil field. It has nothing to do with how much we're pumping. That is some propaganda that the right has pushed out because we've never decreased our pumping under Democratic leadership. There are certain factors that even if we were quote unquote drilling and pumping more, it wouldn't matter because we don't have the refinery systems built here midstream to get that stuff moving.
That's also true. And it's
one of the
go Scott.
One of the problems is that the old NIMBY problem. People don't want refineries in their backyard, and the United States has a deficit of refining capacity. And that's not a new problem. It's been going on for a long time. That's why sometimes you see a price spike if there is a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, where a lot of refining can take place. And you'll see prices spike after that because refineries have to shut down for a little while they fix the damage. So that's a real problem that we have. In fact, it's one of our major problems, that and transportation of alternative sources of energy, transportation vis-a-vis power lines across state lines. That's another issue.
And again, we are part of a global system now when it comes to oil. We're part of a global market. Our oil is not nationalized. There are positives to having a nationalized oil system, just like there's positives to a nationalized energy system and a nationalized healthcare system and a nationalized anything, because the government's job isn't to make extra money. A government's job is to do what's needed and to get the minimum paid for. That is why, you look at some of the best things that have come, like what is it? Some medications that the government helped pay for. They buy it from them. You're right. Okay. But we don't make money. We can drill as much as we want. We could drill companies could drill tons more. Wouldn't change a whole heck of a lot. They're not going to.
The government, part of the government's job is to make sure that we find balance in this capitalist society. And, utilities are a huge part of our government, especially local government. I mean, they are the ones who are making laws and regulations. And when you're voting in people who don't want to create regulations and who want to create laws that actually ban the ability to create regulations, that's not helping the people. It's not helping them get cheaper utilities. It's not helping them defend their land. It's only helping the corporations.
Deleted. I understand how the economy works. What's your point? We've been talking about this for weeks as to why this is happening like it is. What is your point? What are you trying to get at? That companies are greedy? Yup.
Yeah, Laura brings up in chat that electricity prices are expected to spike too. That's quite true. They've been for anybody who lives in the Northeast or the Upper Midwest, you already know all about electricity prices spiking over the last couple of years, and there's going to be another round of that because of the limits on natural gas, oil, and some of the problems that Books just brought up in terms of transferability. I mean, you have 50 different states regulating in 50 different ways. That certainly leaves certain economic inequalities in the system itself. And that's not, I think it would be better to have more of a national grid than what we're doing now with a hodgepodge of different energy companies. It's not a very efficient way to deliver energy. And obviously, we haven't done ourselves any favors, which is now painfully obvious, in cutting back on alternative sources of energy, green energy and things like that. Wind and solar, that has hurt us because we right now could really use that.
Yep. And, we see crude going up and down based on, the whims of what this administration decides to announce or not announce. But, you don't want to know what is starting to skyrocket? The cost of natural gas. So anybody that's on natural gas for heat, I mean, it's fine now, but
yeah, that's what everybody forgets, Mike, is that 20% of the world's natural gas is also not getting through. It's not just oil. We're focused on oil because we look at the gas, and I understand that. And we're entering the summer now, so people aren't using as much natural gas, but we're in for a big surprise come winter because of the price spikes in natural gas. And that also leads to price spikes in fertilizer, which leads to price spikes in food, which will be hitting us in the fall. Yep. And I believe Mr. Global, and it's not just Mr. Global, it's also the head of Exxon and the head of Chevron testified last week that they expect a significant price increase. Now, the numbers are all over the place, so I can't tell you exactly how much, but they were talking the $2 to $3 range. I've heard much higher than that per gallon of gas. In about a month from now. Now, most areas of the country have noticed in the last week about a 20-cent drop in the price of gas. We're in the eye of the hurricane right now, and we're about to really get hit hard. And the main reason we're going to be hit hard is that inventories in the strategic petroleum reserves are nearing their bottom now. They've been used, and the same with distillates, gasoline, diesel fuel, airline fuel. Mm-hmm. We're running on fumes in terms of our reserves. And when I say our reserves, I'm talking this is a worldwide issue. This is not an issue that is specific to the United States, because distillates and the oil and gas itself are a worldwide commodity with a worldwide pricing system.
And that's the other thing people don't realize. So our refineries can't, like, I think people believe that they just make everything when they refine. They don't realize that they refine differently if you're trying to get different things. So because things like diesel and jet fuel have been so low, quite a few refineries have slowed down refining things like gas and have switched over to refining things like diesel and jet fuel. So that is also limiting the quantities of a lot of things.
And it's still a worldwide commodity too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still adjusted based on what's happening around the world.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The United States doesn't control the oil market. No one country does. And the pricing system is based on a worldwide price. And the other thing that Mike constantly points out, and it needs to be pointed out repeatedly, we see in the newspaper the price of a barrel of oil. Folks, that is the futures market. And there is a big difference between the futures market and what the actual price is, which is known as the spot price. And the spot price normally coincides somewhat with the futures market. Now we're seeing a rather wide divergence between the spot price and the futures market. And unfortunately, the spot price is significantly higher than the price we're seeing. And in the newspaper, they only print the futures market. They don't tell you what the spot price is. Spot price, which is what you actually pay for a barrel of oil, is now significantly higher than the number that we're seeing in the newspapers.
And even those spot prices sometimes are somewhat future paid. So the problem we're dealing with now is all of those tankers that everyone was saying, oh, yay, they're coming to get all of this stuff. They're paying immediate delivery spot prices, which are the most expensive prices that you can pay. And they're coming and taking jet fuel and diesel because those are the lowest everywhere. Especially jet fuel.
Yeah, and the future problem, eventually this war will end. Eventually the Straits of Hormuz presumably will open up. The problem is going to be insurance. It takes a lot to insure these tankers. And, basically Lloyd's of London is going to be considering. Something popped up. They set the price for other insurance companies that charge. They're going to be considering the Straits of Hormuz to be a war zone for quite some time after hostilities end. What does that mean to us, the consumer? It means that they're going to charge very high insurance rates for these tankers to go through the Straits of Hormuz, and that cost is going to be passed on to us. Bottom line is, if you think you're going to see $2.40 a gallon gasoline like we saw before, that's just not going to happen, folks. It's just the price of oil is, I think Mr. Global said the best we can hope for is 80 to 85, I believe he said, Mike. You would know better than me because you watch him even more than I do. 80 to 85, not the 60 to 65 a barrel that we were paying pre-war.
Yep.
I think that our society and our country as a whole has a generally impatient and short-sighted viewpoint as well. We are not a country that's on a trajectory of minimizing our reliance on fossil fuels. There are other countries in the world that are on a trajectory to minimize their reliance. And I might not be around to see a potential future for what that's going to look like in 50 or 100 years. But what's that going to look like for my kids? And for the long-term structure and resilience of this country on the worldwide stage.
Yep. And as I said yesterday, what? Sorry, go.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. Sorry. As I said yesterday, the biggest problem that we are dealing with now, like, yes, the prices have been kept low by all of these states or all of these countries emptying their strategic reserve. The point of the strategic reserve is disruption protection. That's the purpose of it. So what we are dealing with now is countries across the globe will no longer have disruption protection.
Yeah, and we could have helped ourselves a little bit. When Biden left office, he had money in the budget to refill the strategic reserve, and that money was taken away and went to the big, beautiful bill, tax cuts for billionaires. And we didn't refill the strategic reserve, and we're paying a huge price for that now. We could have refilled it at a very low price at that time. And now we not only don't have that cushion, but it's going to cost us significantly more to recreate that cushion in the future. Now, it's not all gloom and doom. There was an excellent article written by a former Treasury and Trade representative of the United States in today's New York Times. And he talked about how markets adjust. And he's saying that from starting now and into the future, he said people aren't going to trust the Straits of Hormuz. He said a lot of Middle Eastern countries, for a total of about 20 to 25% of the total amount of oil that is being blocked in the Straits of Hormuz, they're running it through pipelines now to different embarkation points. He talked about nations using economies of scale to, limit the amount of oil that they use, especially in the Indo-Asian area. They are rapidly turning to solar, wind, and other forms of alternative energies. The bottom line is nations don't want to be caught. They got caught flat-footed now. They don't want to be caught flat-footed in the future. The only nation that seems to have been fully prepared for something like this, and it's helping them now, is China, which had huge amounts of oil stockpiled. And they're grabbing oil from other nations. Canada is signing oil contracts. There are nations in South America signing oil contracts now for getting alternative sources of oil. So the markets are moving as quickly as they can to lessen their dependence now and in the future on the Straits of Hormuz. So that's a little, I know things are rough and they're going to get really rough in a month. I mean, everybody is warning about it. I don't think people are realizing just how bad this is going to get in about a month. But markets do adjust to that. And I don't believe in the future that 20% of our oil will come through the Straits of Hormuz, namely because Middle Eastern oil producers are definitely going to find an alternative way to get their oil to market.
Well, yeah.
Than relying on that strait.
I already read that there's a pipeline in Iraq that was kind of closed down that went to the Mediterranean through Turkey, and they're opening that back up because I don't know how much that's going to put back in the market, but yeah, it's, again, can good things come from this? Sure, absolutely can. Absolutely can. I've already said, if there's anything that good that comes from this administration, and it shows us where the holes are in our current system, in our current constitution, that has allowed for what is going on to go on, that we can look at fixing. I think that what we're seeing here will at some point be push us to more. I just read a report talking about they found a better way to a safer, better way to create hydrogen in a way that it can be used, hydrogen can be used as energy production. So it's like we're, you know, there could be good things that come from this, but to ignore, to be like everything's okay because, you know, while people are suffering, we're going 3 steps forward, 4 steps back. Yes, this administration brought us, actually, I would say this administration brought us about 10 steps back from the 3 steps forward we went.
0 steps forward. I'm not really sure what steps forward we're actually taking, to be quite honest.
I mean, the steps forward that I'm talking about are like the steps forward that we've had over the last, you know, 80 years. You know, we've taken a few steps forward in different areas.
Well, I know that, you know, Trump supporters seem to think that we are taking some steps forward, but I just would really like to know what steps forward they actually think are happening.
Yeah. So deleted. Look, I appreciate you coming here. I appreciate you talking. Here's the thing about the Constitution, about your idea that they're violating the Constitution, about all of this. The problem that I have with the Constitution is that it was written in such a way, and, you know, maybe back when the Second Amendment was written, they didn't need to be more specific. But my problem with it is that there is a lot of interpretation that's required when reading it. I don't read the Second Amendment like you read it. I don't read it that way. I believe that you are reading it that way. I completely disagree with you. That's not how I read it. That's not how I interpret it. So what makes your interpretation of it right and mine wrong? That's the problem, right? The problem is we're not sitting here saying, what do we as a country want to be? And why do we want to make things certain ways? We just say, oh, well, it says shall not whatever. And that's all you care about. You don't care about what they were thinking when they wrote it. You don't care about what the world is like right now that makes us think that it should be somewhat different. All you care about is all you care about is a one line. They didn't stutter when they said shall not be infringed. They didn't say anything. All you're doing is reading. Don't act like you know what the fuck you're talking about.
Deleted.
Said well regulated either.
Deleted. Whether we like it or not, no matter what our personal views, the interpretation of the Constitution is left to the Supreme Court. And we must all live for that, whether we live with that, whether we like it or not. And Mike, as to your point about after this is over, that at least the weaknesses in our system have been exposed, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that the next president, whoever that is, unfortunately is going to be very, very busy. And I really believe, and I lived through this, if you're a certain age, you have lived through it. There was a huge portion of post-Watergate reforms to our nation made, and those guardrails held to a certain degree up to now. There's going to have to be much stronger guardrails built in, and that is going to keep the next administration and the next Congress very, very busy, and I believe that's precisely what we're going to see.
Yeah. And this whole, like, these people who care so much about this Second Amendment and how they don't want any regulations or any safety precautions whatsoever, but you don't care about any other part of the Constitution. You don't care about women's protections, about minorities' protections, about the kids' protections, about free speech, which is the religious freedom. I mean, if the only thing you care about is that you can't buy a suppressor at 18 years old, then you're a joke.
Folks, if I may, can I just, and it's been pointed out before, there are no, let me repeat this, 0 absolutes in the Constitution of the United States. Every amendment to the Constitution of the United States is subject to reasonable restriction. Therein lies the rough problem, and that's why we have courts. What are the reasonable restrictions, and what restriction is deemed reasonable? Rather than speaking in generalities, I'll give you a specific instance. Political speech. We all have free speech, don't we? Yes, we do, to a limit. Political and religious speech is given a much greater degree of protection than economic speech. For instance, in the 1970s, cigarette ads were banned from television. Now, that's free speech, but it was banned, and it was upheld by the Supreme Court. The tobacco companies took them to court. Why? Because that was economic speech. Government is given wide berth in limiting economic speech for the safety and health of the American people. However, political speech and religious speech is at the very center of the First Amendment. So there you see an example of reasonable restrictions, and it depends on what type of speech you're talking about. The same goes for the Second Amendment and every other amendment. There is nothing that is absolute.
And if you truly listen to the majority of people and politicians on the left, the reasonable restrictions on the Second Amendment are widely accepted by the majority of Americans, including conservatives. Basic regulations, basic background checks, basic safety laws and storage laws. I mean, we have, in my opinion, I don't remember seeing any sort of major restrictions of banning things that you can get with the Second Amendment ever. But we have seen major restrictions and complete bans on, say, for instance, women's reproductive rights.
And here's the thing. If you believe that back when the Second Amendment was written, that they had the capability of actually considering what firearms would look like in 2026, and if you truly believe that no change should be made when we were going from muzzle loaded rifles to what is available to people now, then it has nothing to do. You don't care about what the purpose of the Second Amendment was. You don't actually care.
And to put limited restrictions on specific things is not the same as you being banned from having it, period, which is what we talk about when it comes to women's reproductive rights versus Second Amendment rights.
Well, women's reproductive rights was ruled by the Supreme Court to be a legislative issue, and that's why they bounced it to the states. The Supreme Court had made it quite clear if Congress ever wanted to reinstitute Roe v. Wade, they could tomorrow. They could do it tomorrow. It's simply not a constitutional issue. according to the Dobbs decision, which I vehemently disagree with. I agree with the original Roe v. Wade decision, but that is what they ruled. And you're quite right, Books, on the Second Amendment. There have been a great many restrictions on firearms that have been ruled constitutional, and there have been some that have been ruled unconstitutional. Because they've been ruled to be reasonable restrictions. Again, that is the legal standard. What is a reasonable restriction? And until very recently, vis-a-vis the Second Amendment, until very, very recently, states were allowed, they took into account the culture and history of the states. What would be a reasonable restriction in Texas is different than a reasonable restriction in New York. And the Supreme Court allowed that because of the history and cultural mores of the states. Now, that's since Judge Kavanaugh vehemently disagreed with that, and he took a majority with him. But that's just an example of what reasonable restrictions are. And it's a constantly evolving thing. But to say that, the words say this and that's the only meaning, that's simply not true. That's just not true and has never been true in constitutional law since 1787.
And deleted, for every example you can give of how the government has reacted in a way that you disagree with in terms of firearms for people, everyone here can probably give you a dozen reasons why there should be restriction. That is the problem. We all have the ability of pointing out situations where bad things happened. And again, I haven't looked into the Ruby Ridge standoff. I don't know the specifics of it. I'm assuming you're trying to tell me that it was something that shouldn't have happened. And that's fine. It totally may be. That's not in question. The problem is, and the thing that we need to understand as a country, is our goal should never be to say we want our society to be like it was when the Constitution and the first 10 Bill of Rights was written. Our job as a society is to say, this is the world we live in. This is the world we live in right now, 2026. What are the problems we're dealing with, and what should we put in place to help with those problems? You can sit here and say 2A all you want, but if you are unwilling to see that the problem with firearms in America is out of hand, then I don't know how I can have a conversation with you anymore. Because you are unwilling to see past your desire to own a firearm. I don't think you do, though. I think you hear the words, but I think your desire to own a firearm, where do they stop after they take it away? That's what we're saying.
I think you just made Mike's point for him.
What we need to do is decide what we want. And we need to make a new 2A that says, that's more specific. That is more specific on what is okay and what is not. And again, if safety is also a part of it, because again, we're sitting here, and no disrespect in the statement I'm about to make, and I swear I mean no disrespect, because I understand the fear, especially now living in this country. Us all owning, some different firearms is not going to help us stop a tyrannical government. I'm just going to be straight with you. It is not going to happen. it's not. It's not. Back then, maybe that's what they wanted. But also they lived in a society at that time where they weren't even allowed to have militias. That's why well-regulated militia was in there. They weren't allowed to have it. The laws that came down did not allow them to have militias. People weren't allowed to have most firearms.
The laws that came down from the British Crown you're referring to. Yes, okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure you were specific there in case people misinterpreted.
And if you look at a lot of the laws that were made in from the Bill of Rights, they were all counters to laws that the British made before we split from them.
When you're looking at children, no, there's not. The unaliving rate of children by firearms has been higher than car accidents the last few years.
So there's a few things I have to say to that, and that's, the few things that I have to say is, when it comes to cars and accidents, we do a lot of things in cars to try and limit the number of accidents. So if there are more, which there may be, I don't know, you have to do a lot of things in order to be able to drive. There are laws that you're supposed to follow. There are regulations. There are airbags. There are a lot of things built in to protect you. Now, again, what's your endpoint?
I would also like to point out that there's a lot of research that goes into cars and accidents, and our government has passed laws to specifically ban research for firearms and firearm incidents. And this administration also disbanded the the government agency that was specifically put in place to research and to prevent unalivings from pew-pews.
And again, go.
From my perspective, I think the analogy is not apt in any rate. These are two totally separate issues. I don't understand what the point of saying, well, more people, even if you believe that, more people or more children die as a result of firearms or not, or whether it's automobiles. That's apples and oranges. The two issues are there's no nexus between the two issues to make any type of rational argument about that.
Well, and it comes down to it, it's still, what is your end goal, right? What is your goal? You want to reduce car loss of life via car? I'm with you. Let's look at what the problems are, why people are losing their life. What is the consistency? I'm down for it. Let's find ways to reduce accidents. That would reduce people's costs in general, because insurance costs could go down if people got in less accidents. I'm down for it. Let's do something about it. The problem is whenever we talk about firearms, the answer is nothing. Just scared of being an armed citizen in the collapse of this society. What?
I think
Hey, good morning.
Oh,
go ahead.
What's up, Shok?
So, oh, go ahead. You can say hi. Go ahead.
Hi.
There you go. All right. Anyhow, here's the key word: accident. Things break down. Something could, a bug could fly across and someone could swerve. That's an accident. That means that something happened that is out of the ordinary. When it comes to a firearm, somebody has to, with intent, pull that mechanism. There's a choice being made. So when you're dealing with something that somebody has to make a choice to do, there 100% should be a regulation. There should be safeguards. There should be safety measures and protocols in place to make sure that that person is being responsible. And guess what? You follow this in just about in so many other areas. Heck, when you go to work, you have rules that you follow to be at work. This should be no different. You have rules that you follow to drive a car. You have rules that you follow to when you have to drink, right? We put safeguards in place in just about every other area of life. And this, when you're talking about something that you have to do intentionally, then yes, there should be regulations surrounding it. It should be the hardest and strictest regulation you should have when you're talking about someone losing their life. Yeah, it should be regulated.
So
Well, and to be fair, there are a lot of accidents that happen with firearms, but when an accident does happen in anything else, especially when we're creating something that we're selling to the public, we look at that and try to fix that and create regulations and laws in place, or even ban something from being available. And yet we see no progress when it comes to firearms.
so here, and again, deleted. I understand this fear that a lot of you seem to have for being unarmed in a collapse of society. I disagree with that fear. I can't argue with your fear. Your fear is your fear, and I can't control what you are afraid of and what you are not. That being said, I think, well, let's put it this way. Again, regardless of whether you think this country is better than some of these other countries in Europe, they survive just fine being unarmed. They have the same potential of a collapse of society that any society has. I think your fear of being unarmed with a societal collapse has allowed you to get us towards a point of a collapse faster than anything, if I'm being honest. I think it's a fear. It's still a fear. It's still a fear. It's crazy how much stuff, how many arguments, how much division, how many problems are happening because of a fear of what might happen in the future. We're literally willing to ignore the problems and the realities right now because of what might happen in the future.
And what has almost never happened historically. I think that there was a really good question that he brought up that was if they can, or what stops them from going further if they can take that away. And I would like to put a reflection out there of, well, that's exactly what's happening with all of the other parts of the Constitution by this administration right now. What happens when this administration is allowed to arrest US citizens because of the way they look and to detain them for an indefinite amount of time, hidden from their families? What happens when this government is allowed to attack First Amendments by attacking all of our journalists and news stations and destroying them?
And again, if it's obvious that there is a problem, and this is where I come back to, if it is obvious that there is a problem with firearms and the loss of life, especially of children in the United States, if you say you care about people's lives, then you should want to do stuff. I mean, sure, if you want to sit here and have an argument that we shouldn't, personally, my personal opinion is I don't think anyone needs to have firearms unless you hunt for a living. And I think we can regulate what those would look like and how you get them. Now, that's my personal opinion. I'm not sitting here telling you that we need to go that far. That being said, there is a problem. And when the response we get from a group of people is you cannot touch this, means you don't actually care about the problem. And that's an issue. Because we say we care about people. So do you care about people or do you care about yourself? Do you care about now or do you care about what might happen in the future someday? I mean, when I tell you that not only have people in this country predicted the collapse of American society, the second coming of Christ, aliens landing, like, we are really bad at knowing what the future holds. We're really bad at it. We suck at it. So when it comes down to it, we need to look at what's going on now. Look at what problem, like, again, we have gushing wounds in our body. Like we're saying here, the United States is a body right now. We've got gushing wounds. Are we going to try and put a Band-Aid on it? Or are we going to try and stop getting those gushing wounds? Are we going to try and fix the problem of why those gushing wounds are happening in the first place? So not only can those wounds heal, but we won't get more. We have got gushing wounds going on in this country.
And we truly need to understand that we are all Americans and that we should be voting in people who care about the well-being of the whole. And that is probably my biggest really truly hatred for this administration, is that they purposely are trying to hurt as many Americans as possible that do not step in line with every single thing that this administration wants to do. They don't care who it is, even if you are Republican, and especially a large amount of Republicans and people in red states. They do not care about hurting you. And they will do it purposely.
Philip said something that's I think is important on the other side. People want to make voting and getting healthcare more difficult than obtaining a firearm. Make it make sense. And that's true. When we're talking with people, it's more important to you to have your right to something that can take someone's life than your desire to make it possible for people to take part in our democracy and own and have the ability to get care, which is wild.
And my problem with the administration is similar to Brooks's. It seems to me as if the overarching ideological foundation of this administration is cruelty is the point. And my other problem with the administration is that this is the only president in American history who does not consider himself president of all the people, but rather president of a faction of the people. And that is antithetical to what this nation should be and to our nation's founding.
And it's still, and in the grand scheme of things, and I'll end on this, it still comes down to our willingness to not only hold people accountable, but take responsibility for our choices. We're talking about a piece of equipment that's only purpose is to take the life of another person or another being. And yet, we as a whole do not want if we are want someone who wants to be a firearm, if you're a 2A person, you don't want to deal with the true responsibility of that and what that actually means. If we go back to the car thing, you are required to get practice, to get insurance, to get a license, to take a test, to do all of these things before you can prove. Why did did it turn back on? I thought I saw something that said it turned back on auto bleep. I gotta find where that is and turn it off. We as a society, it is obviously different states go to different levels on it, but there's at least some level of understanding that a car is can be a dangerous thing. And you need to go and do some amount of work to get it. The idea that just because the Constitution says a couple sentences, that there can be no level of responsibility or accountability aligned with it, no level of no level of not even regulation on it because of that, even though, again, the entire purpose of those things is to take the life of another being. That is the purpose. That does not mean it can't be used for other things, but that is its purpose. And we need to accept that, and we need to work with that reality. Guys, thank you so much for coming up here. Shug, Books, Scott, I appreciate you all. I appreciate your perspectives on things always. Guys, if you haven't collected your points, please collect your points. You know, we're all trying to figure all this out together, and none of these conversations are hard. I appreciate Deleted for you sticking around, even when it's probably felt like we were jumping on you some, because we were.
Mike?
Yeah.
If I may, sir.
Yes, sir.
Just one statement.
Yep.
What did you say, Dad?
Hey, not right now, son.
What did you say?
I'm talking to Mike. Okay?
Talking to
Listen, y'all.
five.
I have,
I be the
if y'all, for those of you who do not know me, I am a disabled veteran. I was in the Army for 6 years. I deployed twice. And let me tell you something. As having been faced with not being alive, we need to get much more concerned with how we can preserve life and the preservation of life than we need to be about how we take it.
Amen.
So get more concerned about the healthcare, get more concerned about people eating, get more fired up about that than you are about the Second Amendment. Please.
Well said.
Thank you, Shug. For everyone who's over here on the tube still that may not follow normally, I also go live on TikTok. I also go live over on the tube 90 minutes before or 30 minutes before. Gosh, I can't talk. 30 minutes before at 9:30. Also, I post interviews with people running for office almost every day. It's going to drop down a little bit. It was 5 days a week because I had so many, but I have a lot less. So I'm going to be shrinking it down unless the number goes back up magically. But and you're going to start seeing not only new people, but people that have won their primaries, and I'm going to be going in deeper with them because the first ones were always introductory, just trying to get their name out there. So we're going to be going deeper with them. So guys, I will see you tomorrow morning. If it's nice out, go and get some sun, go enjoy it. If it's nasty out, go do something fun, because we all need to do something fun. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the gifts. I appreciate you all. You guys are amazing, just the way you are. And I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.